Just another day ending in Y, as far as I'm concerned. Your first Knicks game, how'd you like it? Was it good for you? It's what Knicks games have been looking like for what, the past 3 years? Just another day ending in Y. Where to begin? We will not be storming the Canyon of Heroes after one game, people. But game one is notoriously the big overreaction game, so let us discuss on the Knicks being 3 wins away from winning an NBA championship. What is dead may never die. These fucking cockroaches, man. Going down by double digits in the first half, reminiscent of game one against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It wasn't that bad late. There was no rust versus rest this time around. They were gassed up and ready for game one. No apathetic defense. And that dude, Jalen Brunson. Do you think he won Clutch Player of the Year by accident? No. I mean, as a game passed yet, Knicks are on what, a 12-game winning streak? I'm sorry, I'm a little heart's racing. These videos are usually much more articulate because I give it a second and a pause to collect my thoughts, but I just decided to hit the go button after the final buzzer after that stressful finish. So you're just going to have to deal with it right now. All right. Man, that 3 in the corner. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but that 3 in the corner from Jalen Brunson was off of a second chance opportunity saved by Josh Hart. And you guys know, if you've been watching these Knicks post-game thoughts videos for the past couple of years, I have dedicated a specific segment to Josh Hart specifically for his moment of the game. That has to be it. And if he wasn't responsible for either saving that or completing the hockey pass to get the ball or the hockey assist to get the ball up top, his stat line tonight, it was, thank you, chat, Josh Hart's rebound was off of it, the OG miss. Wait, Jalen Brunson got the board. Hold on. Are we talking about the same shot here? It was saved by Brunson and made by Brunson? Anyway, my point here still stands regardless. Go take a look at Josh Hart's box score tonight. He is once again being strategically left open by a defense. We saw this in the Hawks series, the 76ers series, and the Cleveland Cavaliers series. They're not doing it because he's a poor three-point shooter. They're doing it because in today's NBA, you have to essentially pick your poison and what you're willing to live with. Okay, chat, you got to get your shit together. I'm already strung out. Was it Jalen Brunson or not? It's just yes, no, yes, no, yes, it was Brunson. No, it was Hart. We're talking about the Brunson 3 in the corner. Somebody give me a timestamp. I can't just do this on the fly. I'm sorry. God damn. Anyway. These videos sometimes have a moment dedicated to Josh Hart. And I've stopped doing these segments in recent videos because these entire games have been dedicated to Josh Hart, including the game that he led the Knicks in scoring. But that is no coincidence. The game that he led the Knicks in scoring, this playoff run, was the result of a defense trying to treat him like Lou Dort. The chat, you're just trolling at this point. This is why I'm going to go back to doing structured videos, okay? Half of you are saying I can't trust anyone. I need a true locust in the chat to tell me who saved the ball when Brunson hit the 3 in the corner. Because there were 2 guys who touched it. It wasn't Hart on the Brunson 3 in the corner, but 15 boards is putting in work. Hart saved a different offensive board. Thank you. Okay. I don't care. I'll go back and watch it later at this point. It is such a luxury to have the best offensive rebounder on the planet in Mitchell Robinson. We'll talk about him in a minute. Karl Anthony Towns, the best total rebounding player on the planet, at least this year. And the best backcourt rebounding guard in the world in Josh Hart. And it's not just the physicality and the strength of which he goes up for those rebounds. It's the timing and how he has identified for years now when he is unmarked. And this is part of the problem with the strategy that the Spurs are running with Victor Wembanyama, is when you leave Josh Hart open, not only has he been making near a 40% clip of his threes this postseason, considerably more accurate than the regular season. That helps when you're standing there wide open, practice gym in rhythm threes. But if you leave him open most of the time, you're also leaving open the best offensive rebounding backcourt player in the world. And he gets to line it up and time it and go get those second chance opportunities for the Knicks. He has been doing it all playoffs. He's been doing it all year. Now, you're not going to blame the San Antonio Spurs for deploying these tactics of having Victor Wembanyama guard Josh Hart, because it affords him the ability to just hang around the paint. And boy, was he daunting and haunting tonight. OG Anunoby, God bless him for making those threes in the corner in the fourth. That air ball that he had from about 6 feet away tells you everything you need to know about players' mentalities when they are dribble penetrating against the San Antonio Spurs. That the mere presence of Victor Wembanyama on the floor just fucks with you. So you get why they do it. And you also got why Mike Budenholzer didn't have Giannis Antetokounmpo guarding Kevin Durant in the Bucks Nets series. It was one of the original strategies of taking one of these rim unicorns and turning them into football free safeties. Not completely original, but the most prominent one. But I'm telling you, there's two ways that the Knicks are going to play the Spurs out of this defensive dynamic. One, Josh Hart continuously hitting the glass. And they already have enough problems with Karl Anthony Towns, because the times that Victor Wembanyama does close out on Josh Hart, now you've got Keldon Johnson, now you've got Carter Bryant, you've got Devin Vassell and Julian Champagnie trying to box out the bodega cat, and he always identifies a mouse in the house. YouTube's trying to tell me that Mikal Bridges was the one who actually got that rebound. This is why I'm so flustered, because there were three different guys around it who touched it. You get my point. It's distracting me, and I'm trying to give some articulate thoughts here. We'll get back to that after I'm done yapping, but you guys are just going to have to chill out for a second because you're really frustrating me. Josh Hart, red carpet rebounds. Karl Anthony Towns eating those 4 point of attack perimeter defenders for the Spurs alive. When Victor Wembanyama is not down in the paint, they have to have Wemby anchored to the restricted area for all 24 seconds of that shot clock. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that while also having someone mark Josh Hart so he can't just run in and get free rebounds all the time? I'll wait for the answer, because there is none. Otherwise, they would have been doing it. That's the dynamic here. The difference between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the New York Knicks is they cannot hide Wemby on Lou Dort. And I say hide Wemby as if he is a pigeon on defense. No. I should use permit Wemby. I'm a terrible delivery right now. I need to focus. These live shows are impossible because my heart's going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. At least you get to see some genuine authenticity here with the takes. The neck vein coming out. It's not radio where I'm prepared and I know what I'm going to say. Wemby wants to float. Wemby wants to be a center fielder. Wemby wants to be the free safety, because what he forces from an inefficiency standpoint from the opposing offense was yet again on full display tonight, as they kept putting those lower third graphics up on the screen. 4 of 18, 4 of 16 in this quarter. When the Knicks try, when Wemby is the closest defender. Like, no shit. But the difference here, of course, we have a Karl Anthony Towns who is willing and able. Keyword and. Unlike the word or that we saw from Chet Holmgren in the previous series. He was willing or able. Mostly just able. Karl Anthony Towns is going to press Victor Wembanyama at the rim. And I thought Wemby was great. They even got the overturned call in the first half with the cat hooking him. He does that thing where he leads with his shoulder, but he's forcing the referees to make a decision, and they can only review a maximum of 2 of those. So if you put the pressure on the referees, the offensive player in today's NBA is usually going to get the benefit of the doubt. And I just love that he was relentlessly, per Terrence Shannon Jr.'s own words in the Minnesota Timberwolves series. I love that Karl Anthony Towns played with no fear, would go downhill against Wemby every chance that he felt it was necessary, not at will. I'm sorry, not at will, but when necessary. Because Towns' role in this offense has pivoted to him being the hub, the nucleus, the first entry pass to choose the items from the menu of where that ball goes and how to get Brunson open. Jalen Brunson is usually not bringing the ball up the floor. He's not getting the team into their offense. He is coming off of dribble handoff action, pin down screens, and the Knicks are trying to find a way to detach Steph Castle, De'Aaron Fox, anyone from face guarding him 35 feet away from the rim. That's going to be Karl Anthony Towns' main responsibility. But sometimes he sees open space. And I love that he is not that he's no longer, but he's not even giving a thought to be passive. It was the perfect balance of initiative, creativity, selfishness. Fucking speak better. In creating for his teammates. What else? The Knicks won this game in the Luke Kornet minutes in the fourth quarter. As soon as the Knicks held the line there, 10-10 to start the fourth, with Jalen Brunson off the floor until the 7.5-minute mark. Selflessness. Thank you. Unselfish, but selflessness. Thank you. Flustered. I'm annoyed. I know we won, but I'm stressed, as you can tell. Would you guys prefer this version of me or wait 30 minutes so that I can properly give you some points of view? I think you would probably prefer this, but not the people watching back on replay. The first 4.5 minutes of the fourth quarter, Jalen Brunson's on the bench. Victor Wembanyama's on the floor. The Knicks even took an early lead, but by the time we got to the TV timeout, the Knicks had played the Spurs even 10-10, and I knew in that moment, Knicks had a chance to win this game right now, because Victor Wembanyama's got to come out at some point. He's not going to be running game 7 minutes. And we've seen a bit of lethargic, let's just call it Victor Wembanyama being lethargic both physically and mentally when he's been out there for 40-plus minutes. And that's not an insult or an indictment, by the way. He gets tired. He's got 7'5" of human to breathe oxygen in and support. Like anyone else, he's probably going to need a break at some point. And you knew it was coming there for another short stint in the fourth, considering how much he played in the third. And when the Knicks play those minutes dead, even at 10-10, here comes Luke Kornet in the first, first 3 possessions in the Luke Kornet fourth quarter minutes. Jalen Brunson to the rim, 2 points. Jalen Brunson to the rim, 2 free throws. He makes both. Jalen Brunson to the rim. That was the third one, was something nasty. It was like a drop step, half to the strong side drop step. Then he went up with like his little baby hook shot. Three straight possessions with points at the rim from Jalen Brunson. And in the first half, because I was tracking it. I believe it was in the middle of the second quarter where the Knicks had 5 straight possessions when Victor Wembanyama goes to the bench. They took advantage of every single one. I'm sitting there saying, if you motherfuckers shoot 1 3-point jump shot with Victor Wembanyama off the floor, I'm going to lose my shit. And all they did, Mikal Bridges went to the free throw line. Karl Anthony Towns with the Josh Hart and one, he gets a free throw. The Knicks just are making the San Antonio Spurs pay for every single second that Wemby is not on the floor. And without even looking, I know that Luke Cornett was -7 in 10 minutes tonight. It may have been worse if he went back out there or I missed an update. I just love that the Knicks are making the most of those non-Wemby minutes because that's where the series is going to be won. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. There's of course, there's a third police chase that's about to happen here too. It wouldn't be a Knicks finals game unless there were multiple police chases on in Los Angeles. 2 happened during the game. There's a third one that's about to happen in 10 minutes. 1994 all over again. Those Luke Cornett minutes were such a liability in the OKC series. That's what honestly kept them alive. And walking away from those sequences to the point that Mitch Johnson had to call a timeout both times. There are sometimes those minutes that the spotlight is so bright on the one guy that you're trying to steal minutes with. And I'm afraid if I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan, that those 10 minutes are going to be a borderline catastrophic liability that causes you to fall short of your ultimate goal. The difference here is that the New York Knicks' bench is going to win their minutes. Deuce, Clarkson, even Mitchell Robinson tonight. Can we speak about that for a second? Mitch came up big in the second half with some rebounds, but he got blown by Victor Wembanyama and a couple dribble drives. I thought he wasn't great tonight. And in the first half, his first bucket was an and one. So he technically got fouled, but he couldn't finish or grip the ball. He kind of like thrunked it. He threw it in on an alley-oop. The second one was a wide open red carpet tip slam that he tried to dunk hard. He ended up hitting his hand on the rim. The ball goes flying. He's shaking it as if he just broke his hand again. And it led to a three-pointer down at the other end within seconds. I think Devin Vassell hit it. But my original point here is these Knicks bench minutes, they lose nothing with Shaman on the floor, with Deuce and Clarkson and Mitch. And it feels like San Antonio is going to have to survive theirs because they got destroyed tonight. It let the Knicks back into the game in the second when they had established that rather large double-digit lead. And it allowed the Knicks to build an 8 to 9 point lead in the fourth quarter. This video is going to be terrible to watch. I'm sorry if you've made it this far. I'm just thoughts in my mind. I'm just rattling them off. Why was Victor Wembanyama so inefficient from the field? Told you the Knicks had the kryptonite or antidote, depending on which side you're on. And they have shown it to us in a sample size of 3 games this season. Because the Knicks have OG Anunoby and Josh Hart. Those defenders are tasked. Now, who's given Wemby the most trouble thus far this year, or at least the most to make him look mortal? The Julius Randles of the world. The Alex Carusos. All of these 3-and-D swingmen with a little girth, a little build, a little bulk, a little size, but most importantly, quick feet. Great defensive footwork. And guys with wingspans, we know OG Anunoby has a 7-foot wingspan with a 9-foot standing reach. watching them tonight, because when I go watch back this game before bed, I can't wait to see how Josh Hart and OG Anunoby continuously got Wemby out of the middle of the floor. It's as if they're the only team that knows it. If Wemby catches the ball in the middle of the floor, as we have said multiple times on this postgame show, talking about Spurs series separate from the Knicks, if he gets the ball between the elbows, you heard Tim Legler say it in the fourth quarter. If he gets the ball between the elbows, the possession is over. It's over because he's 7'5", and he has the optionality of the full court in front of him. He can dribble, he can shoot, he can pass. It's just, how do you want it? But if he has to receive the basketball at the free throw line extended all the way to the three-point arc or potentially the sideline, it takes away one of those triple threat options. And how many times tonight did that man have to catch the ball at the top of the arc, way out? Last time I checked, the sideline is an additional defender, so he can't create space by stepping back. So having OG and Josh Hart deny the middle of the floor, think of what that requires. It's a 3/4 hedge, not a full front, but a 3/4 hedge, meaning I'm giving you a wide open pass to Wemby, but it's got to go over there towards the sideline. I am going to shut down his left hand so he can't receive this basketball, turn face, and just kill us. And I really thought it wasn't a lack of like, oh, Wemby's disengaged the way that he was in the middle of the OKC series. It wasn't that. He wasn't out of energy. That's why he got his rest in the fourth. It was a defensive dynamic and tactical deployment that puts him in a spot that is not advantageous for him. You have to control the middle of the floor against someone that good and that tall. And never once tonight did I feel like the New York Knicks were permitting free entry passes and just playing him straight up, even with Karl Anthony Towns. So we knew coming into this series, all the Spurs are going to want to do is put Brunson and Cat into action, pick and roll, preferably with the two of them. The Knicks have worn their defensive strategy like a sign around their necks the entire season. They go into drop coverage with Karl Anthony Towns, backpedaling. But in a weird way, you don't want the hard hedge and downhill penetration denial that most teams are hoping they get from that action. You want Cat to go into drop coverage against Wemby because then that somehow denies him from getting to the middle of the floor as he's backpedaling and occupying that space. There were a couple of times there where Cat was on an island against Victor Wembanyama, but it was almost always outside the three-point arc. You can live with that. If Wemby beats you the way that he stepped back on Mitchell Robinson, the way that he hit a couple of threes, he's just the best player like of all time. And you tip your hat and you move on. You just got to make his life as difficult as possible. And that starts with the denial of the basketball in the middle of the court. User Heron in the chat says, I can count 2 to 3 passes Fox and Castle messed up trying to force them versus OG and Hart pushing him towards the center of the floor. When we go back, and it's tough to do in real time, but if you want to go back and rewatch this game, the fourth quarter specifically, watching Victor Wembanyama have to operate outside of the entire paint in totality, you will notice like, oh, that's what he's talking about. And it's so much more difficult for Wemby to create offense when you have 30 feet of space to make a decision before he gets to the rim. Only once, when Mitchell Robinson recklessly closed out and all of his body weight was going forward, you heard Tim Legler or Richard Jefferson say he had too much momentum moving forward and he caught himself out of position. That was the only time that Victor Wembanyama was actually able to put the ball on the floor and finish at the rim. Because if he tries that shit when the Knicks defense is entrenched, that's when he starts to see second bodies. Now, here's the problem. Is if you send a second body from Julian Champagne's side of the floor, he is now in the territory of no leaving at any cost. Like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Ray Allen, whoever. Not saying he's that quality of player, but he's going to have to be treated the same. Because the Knicks have seen this already this year. In the game that they lost in San Antonio by 2 points, 136-134, Julian Champagnie almost broke the NBA record for threes in a single game, going 11 of 17 from the field. Okay? Every single one of his field goal attempts was from three. when you help out of, well, you can't help out of the strong side corner because that's always a cardinal sin. But the Knicks, of course, are going to send help from the weak side on a hard rolling Victor Wembanyama through the paint. That was where Jose Alvarado came down, once again, astutely noted by the ESPN broadcast. Jose Alvarado put a foot in the paint to try and give Victor Wembanyama a little one of these as he was to get him off of his line, right? But the choice was made to hit Julian Champagnie in the corner. I believe this is in the second quarter. The pass was made to defer to Julian Champagnie, and you can see Jose Alvarado in the slow motion replay go like this. It's like, shit. He's like, that was my man to close out. My man to close out. The problem is the Knicks have the strategy of trying to knock Victor Wembanyama off of his line to prevent him from getting to the middle of the floor like we just spent the last 10 minutes discussing. So Jose was a step late getting to Julian Champagnie. And what I'm suggesting now is I am almost willing to live with Victor Wembanyama having a much more linear path to the hoop if it means keeping the guy at home attached to Julian Champagnie, because that's exactly what happened in the second half. Josh Hart, did you see the play where Josh Hart ran the other way to just go pick up Julian Champagnie when the Spurs were in secondary transition? He essentially said, you could have the entire floor, whoever had the ball. I don't know if it was De'Aaron Fox, if it was Harper. You see Josh Hart running past the ball. Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm going to get that guy. I wish I had the timestamp on that because it was fucking hilarious that Josh Hart had the wherewithal to identify that Julian Champagnie's open and we'll settle for anything else but that. And then Julian Champagnie started to press. So he's getting up some really difficult looks there. And it all just kind of, he regressed back to the mean, mostly because the Knicks were paying him so much attention and they made it that priority that you heard the broadcast say, Julian Champagnie has now elevated himself to being number 2, probably number 2 on the scouting report. Staying at home on him. But if you stay at home on him, where does the help from Victor Wembanyama come from? It probably doesn't. So where do we go? Because this is only one game. If you're the Knicks, are you still helping on the weak side away from Champagnie? Because it's the weak side defender who's supposed to come over and help and check on Wembanyama? Or are you staying at home and then we start to see a lot more lobs at the rim and Wemby starts getting gassed up because he's seeing the ball go through the hoop? You're going to be sitting there yelling at your television screen, why are the Knicks not helping on Wemby? And it will be by design and strategy at that point. The Knicks were leaving, yes, Jess in the chat says the Knicks were leaving Steph Castle on threes. That's a choice that the Knicks make. You saw Josh Hart run away from Steph Castle, and Steph Castle made him pay. Boy, did Steph Castle hit a couple of shots there that if he just missed it and the Knicks got a rebound, I felt like that game was going to be over halfway through the fourth quarter. The Knicks find a way to go the other direction and get a bucket off of that defensive rebound. It felt like, oh, the Knicks got a stranglehold on this game. And him and Wembanyama made 2 threes with the Knicks up by like 8 points, 7 points that kept them alive. It was a hell of a basketball game, man. Hell of a game. And I love seeing the strategies unfold in real time. That was a lot of yapping, chat. Thank you for listening. Let me read some chats. Can anyone check to see if this police chase is on? I'm sorry, it's distracting me. I got to check real quick. I'll be right back with you. All right, chat. Nope, it's over. Okay, good. Thank God. I can focus now. Sorry, guys. This is not the most fluid show here. So for those of you watching it back on replay, I have to do live shows. I know some of you want the more structured thoughts videos that you can watch like when you wake up the next day, but you're just going to have to deal with this. I don't know what else. We've never been here before, so we're doing this shit all on the fly. Time to scroll. Let me me start at the top. Okay. You know what we're actually going to take a minute to do? We're going to go find out who got that rebound. We're going to go find out right now who got that rebound. Let's do this together. Sorry for yelling. I've calmed down a little bit. Okay, where's that Brunson 3? Right here. OG Anunoby miss. It was Mikal. Okay. Chat was, you guys were yelling at each other on if it was Brunson got his own before the make or if it was Josh Hart. It was actually Mikal. 152 to put the Knicks up by 2. $155 right here. Thank you, Mikal. Here's the Josh Hart rebound. He got 2. This is the one I was talking about. 249 and 241. He creates 2 second chance opportunities. The Knicks miss all their shots, but man, how many times a possession goes to shit and it just doesn't matter because the Knicks have Mitchell Robinson, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Josh Hart out there. And if there's one area of exposure and liability for those San Antonio Spurs, it's that they are quite small surrounding Victor Wembanyama because they want to close with Harper, Fox, Vassell, and Champagnie. But man, after this game, it's De'Aaron Fox, man. Are we getting to the point that De'Aaron Fox might need to be replaced by Dylan Harper in these final minutes? I don't know about that, but if he's still hampered by that ankle, he has certainly lost his explosiveness, and he did not look like someone that was interested in getting downhill and taking those shots there at the end of the fourth. Champagnie looking like 2014 Danny Green. History repeating itself. Great comp, Pav Soul in the chat. Thank you for calming down because yelling Wob was scaring the hose. Sorry, Andrew. I'm just reading chats right now. I'll be right back with you guys. Have you ever seen a man angrier despite being 3 wins away from glory? Don't do that. Don't do that because I've been here before. I've been 1 win away from glory, and that's why I will not. You will see this version of me until the Knicks have 3 wins. Then it's all in. Then it's beer goggles. Told you. Until then, you will get an objective. This is where you come for objective Knicks analysis. There's plenty of feeds where people are popping champagne. God bless them. But I'm trying to understand what we're seeing here. To get to game 3, then I will join the zombies if the Knicks have 3 wins, because then it's just 1 win away. But until then, the Knicks do need to find some sustainability with what they did tonight so well. They're shooting fireworks off in New York right now after 1 win. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that statue will not suffice if Jalen Brunson, after these performances, this playoffs, they're going to rename Penn Station a Brunson Station. Got the most famous train station in the world, Pennsylvania Station, not Newark Penn Station, the Penn Station. It will become Brun with 2 N's if you want to keep the whole Penn Station, Brunson Station. That's the magnitude of the moment here with New York. They're shooting fireworks off and burning the city down after 1 win. I appreciate the support, AGINS. Being hard on myself is part of the therapy, believe it or not. And I'm more frustrated because I know how close we are. And it's difficult to fight off the demons as a Knicks fan and someone that was alive to experience that trauma of the 90s. You don't want to dive in head over heels when you've been through something like that. A younger generation has always, for the most part, seen an irrelevant Knicks team. You're allowed to consume the product in the way that you want, but this is my way of being at peace. And I'm going to sleep every minute tonight. No excitement, no pain. But I just get mad sometimes. It's not getting mad at the chat, even though I say, chat, stop doing this shit. It's more of just trying to release some energy. Okay. It's not over yet. And you better believe what we saw from Victor Wembanyama after suffering a tough loss against OKC. He's going to come back and hit twice as hard. And you better believe he's going to start pressing and being a lot more selfish himself. How many times tonight did he try and get downhill against Cat in that fourth quarter? Cat goes vertical, and he tried to embellish a little bit. He fell over. The Spurs did a great job. I believe they won the glass, and pretty significantly. They won the offensive glass tonight. When Wemby fell over, Julian Champagnie got a rebound that made me shriek because there were still 3 Knicks around that could have had it. Smallest guy in the paint received it, and it led to, I think, a Victor Wembanyama foul. No, Champagnie got the rebound and got fouled with 1.2 seconds left on the shot clock and bailed him out, but he missed one of the free throws. Oh my God, how could I forget about that Deuce McBride banked in 3, by the way? How the fuck do you bank in a shot from the coffin corner? That's an impossible. Deuce McBride could try that shot 1,000 times. He is coffin corner, not the corner, the coffin corner. Because the corner goes behind the backboard on a basketball court, he was in the coffin corner and still found an angle in which the spin on the ball was coming out of the air and it skidded off the corner of the backboard and somehow went in. He was going to miss that shot by about 7 feet. He's hit one before, Mike. He's hit one before. You said those as if this is a regularity. This one tonight was no bank in from like the top of the arc. This one was impossible. And you can see the courtside fans. One guy sits up out of his courtside seat with feet on the wood. He doesn't even watch the Spurs going the other way. He walks behind where Deuce McBride was, and he goes like this. And he's like, how is that possible? How is that possible? As the camera is panning from left to right, you see a fan just completely perplexed. How does this shit happen on the world's biggest stage? I guess sometimes you got to create your own luck, but that was fucking impossible. Not improbable, impossible. He couldn't do that again in 1,000 tries. Thank you to FCO in the YouTube chat who just informed me that the San Antonio Spurs have actually won game 1 analytically. God, the Knicks are getting killed. I don't want to. Why is your name D Genocide? I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound very happy. Says the Spurs have a choice: stick to their plan and got beat, or make an adjustment and pray it works. The only adjustment that they're going to make is taking Victor Wembanyama off of Josh Hart and putting him onto Karl-Anthony Towns. And if that happens, Victor Wembanyama will spend a majority of his time outside of the paint because Cat is receiving those flex entry passes at the top of the arc. That's intentional. If they put Victor Wembanyama onto Cat originally, I don't know why they would do that. Because now you have nobody protecting the rim. And how many times did Shamet, Mikal, and OG get there when either Victor Wembanyama being out of the game or overextended during a closeout? The Knicks feasted every opportunity they had made available to them when Wemby was not in the restricted area. But when he was, they weren't even looking at the damn basket. And I don't blame them. Every second that Victor Wembanyama is anchored to the paint, the entire Knicks strategy comes down to making shots. And it certainly helps when you've got OG and Shamit who continue to make grenades at a rate that would win them a 3-point contest all-star weekend, which makes no sense. OG, all of those threes he hit in the Hawks series that were grenades, which means like less than a second left on the shot clock, you just throw it up. How many times are these guys going to relocate and make those bullshit? But if it comes down to the Knicks having to make shots, it sure helps when you've got Jalen Brunson and all they've got is De'Aaron Fox, with all due respect. We're getting to a point now that every second where Dylan Harper is not on the floor may be seen the same as when Luke Kornet is on the floor for Victor Wembanyama. It's not just making shots, though. It's making hero ball shots in half-court sets, not even in secondary transition, let alone fast break, where all 5 defenders are entrenched. We saw the Knicks trying to get Brunson the basketball off of an offensive rebound, and it took him 7 seconds of the 14 of the reset to actually hand him the basketball, which was 35 feet away from the rim. And then it's like SOS, just go and do something cool and save us. And because he's so fucking good, he can do that, but it's not sustainable. It's not supposed to be sustainable. Maybe with Brunson, he is just that good. It was sustainable for Dirk Nowitzki. And that's what it feels like it's going to take for the Knicks to win this series. Because that 9-0 run the Spurs went on when they really clamped down in the half court, the Knicks didn't stand a chance of scoring a point, it felt like. Anything was going to have to come off of an offensive rebound from Josh Hart, and then the defense goes into scramble mode. But if they had their defense set, that's when their 4 point of attack perimeter defenders can really lock in, and they switch everything, because why wouldn't we? We're all 3-and-D guys. We're all practically the same size. We all have the same prowess. And we have Wemby down there to protect us when we aggressively close out, when we try and cut off dribble penetration. If we get beat, we know that guy's still down there, and we can just recover and reset. JP in the chat asked, clearly Brunson was powering through it, but do the early injuries leave you concerned? Not in the least. That dude is Mighty Mouse. He's been dealing with, his ankle is practically Steph Curry's ankle at this point when it comes to like chronic flaring up. And I thought so people freaked out, by the way, when Brunson hobbled back to the locker room. And I didn't want to say anything because everyone was going through their 7 stages of grief. But did you guys notice that happened almost exactly 10 minutes into the first quarter? That's when Jalen Brunson goes to the bench anyway. So he probably went to the back to get ice or put a pad on it. But never once did I think that was like a hyperextension. You could see Harrison Barnes during the action just kind of fell into the knee, but it wasn't a flex. It looked like a Charlie horse. So I thought it was just one of those, knee to knee or like shoulder to knee, and that shit just hurt. And he went to kind of go walk it off, and he was back on the bench within minutes. I think the ankle injury, if there's any to be concerned about, a lot more than the knee, because the Charlie horse is going to heal. And the ankle injury happened because Luke Kornet stepped on it. Again, not intentionally during a rebound, but it wasn't a roll when he landed on someone's foot where the bone in the ankle goes like practically through the shoe. It just got stepped on. So those injuries tonight do not concern me whatsoever. If there's any injury, it's that Mitchell Robinson can't catch the basketball right now. Now, having Mitchell Robinson on the floor with just one hand is still worth 10 Luke Kornets at this point, because the Knicks lose nothing when he's out there. He's going to set screens. He's going to hard roll. And if you show too much on Jalen Brunson, they were trying to force feed Mitchell Robinson. Mikal Bridges threw a terrible pass to him in the third quarter. And Brunson tried to hit him a couple of times there in the fourth as well. So Mitchell Robinson still has influence at the rim, keeping Victor Wembanyama at home just enough that even though he's injured, we know he can still finish if they throw that lob. That's where the Knicks are going to win this series, my friends. Beginning in the second quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, when Victor Wembanyama goes to that bench. Mitchell Robinson, strangely enough, was being mirrored to Luke Kornet's minutes for the first 2 times that Kornet was put into the game. Mitchell Robinson was substituted in, overlapping those minutes concurrently with Luke Kornet. When I was doing some math earlier today, considering there's 48 minutes in a game, Mitchell Robinson traditionally plays between like 17 and 22. Let's just call it 20 for round number's sake. If Mitchell Robinson's going to play 20 minutes, considering the success that he's had guarding Victor Wembanyama before tonight, that means 48 minus 20 equals 28, which means Karl Anthony Towns or OG Anunoby or Josh Hart are only going to have to split 28 minutes if Mitchell Robinson is on the floor to guard Victor Wembanyama the other 20. But that wasn't the case at all. Mike Brown went with a strategy of putting him in against Luke Cornett, maybe because he felt like he's really going to dominate him on the glass. I don't know, but it felt like an opportunity there to have Mitch on an island without ever having to send help, because you're going to trust Mitchell Robinson even with the broken hand. He doesn't need a hand to play defense with. He needs that hand to finish. So I am curious to see if Victor Wembanyama starts to go off in game 2. And he's being more aggressive in receiving the ball in the middle of the floor. Josh Hart and OG Anunoby are struggling to prevent him from establishing positioning. That will see Mitchell Robinson come in a little bit earlier so that we can get away from this whole three-quarters fronting defensive strategy that clearly has worked now 3 out of 4 times this year, including the NBA Cup game. Because Wemby's he's coming at some point. Like basketball Godzilla. The problem is even Godzilla had Ghidorah. And in this case, Ghidorah is the Block Ness monster and Mitchell Robinson. We rarely got to see the two of them other than 2 dribble drives from Wembanyama tonight. And Wemby won those matchups. I don't want to make it sound like Mitchell Robinson is the Wemby stopper. Are any of you old enough to remember the Portland Trailblazers locker room before Game 7 where they were rubbing Ruben Patterson's shoes going, Kobe stopper, Kobe stopper, Kobe stopper, Kobe stopper. And then Kobe dropped like 47 on his ass, but they were like hyping him up as you're the Kobe stopper. Mitchell Robinson is not the Wemby stopper. But what he can do is defend Victor Wembanyama without needing a second body thrown his way. And that sure helps when I'm sitting here telling you the Knicks' defensive strategy of no longer leaving Julian Champagnie open under any cost. You're going to need all 5 guys to stay on their assignments and not get beat. That puts a lot of pressure on your individual defenders. No, Hakamich. I just got a question about Hakamich and if the San Antonio Spurs will consider it in game 2. That has been a big no thus far this playoffs, and it's not because Mitchell Robinson is suddenly a good free throw shooter. If you saw his shit tonight, I was hoping we might have a Henry Rowan Gardner Rookie of the Year moment with him. The baseball movie where the kid tears his elbow ligament, starts throwing 105 for the Chicago Cubs. Maybe the broken hand for Mitchell Robinson will turn a 40% free throw shooter into Steph Curry. No, that was most certainly not the case, as that ball was on a 180-degree angle straight at the rim. And if you're sitting courtside, you're going to have to wear a helmet or be prepared for grenades being thrown at you as if you're on Omaha Beach, hiding behind the trenches if that ball comes your way. No, it most certainly did not help. Now, while Mitchell Robinson's free throw shooting has not improved, the Hakamich strategy doesn't work for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because we see Mitchell Robinson at the beginning of the quarter. And if you decide to do Hakamich, you are going to have to foul him 5 times to get him to the free throw line. Then that puts the Knicks in the bonus. And Mike Brown goes, thanks, just like he did against Nick Nurse in Philadelphia. Thanks. Kenny Atkinson did it too. Thanks. Mitchell Robinson, you're out. Karl Anthony Towns, you're in. Now the Knicks are in the bonus for 7 straight minutes at the end of that quarter. That does not work. The only time you can hack a Mitch is between the 3-minute mark and the 2-minute mark, when the rule exists. You cannot intentionally foul players that are not included in the actual action. That's the only time you can hack a Mitch. Strategically. You can technically do it at the beginning of the quarter, but it won't work. And it's pointless because now you afford the Knicks free throws for the rest of the quarter for free. So Mitchell Robinson's minutes being at the beginning of the quarter or the halfway point prevents that strategy from taking effect. I hope that answers the question. And because Victor Wembanyama wasn't coming out until the 6-minute mark in the quarter, Mitchell Robinson can play the beginning of the quarter and have that be his assignment. So I would almost look for Victor Wembanyama's minutes, rest minutes, to shift to the beginning of the quarter versus the 6-minute TV timeout. If it was the regular season, we usually see the starters come out at the 3-minute mark in the first quarter, return around the 7-minute mark in the second. But since this is the playoffs, Victor Wembanyama sometimes plays an entire quarter, and then he rests, between 9 and 6, and then comes in and plays the final 6. I would look for Mike Brown to strategically play, to substitute in Mitchell Robinson with more overlap against Victor Wembanyama in game 2, as it's going to be clear that Wemby is trying to be more aggressive with his individual scoring and creativity to get the defense to collapse on top of him. And if the Knicks are getting gashed, if Karl Anthony Towns gets into foul trouble, that's going to be Mitchell Robinson time. Yes, Mitchell Robinson free throws had the trajectory of the American Gladiators tennis ball gun. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Mikhail's lob attempt was fucking crazy. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Spurs had the audacity to bring the nuns to this game when the Pope is a Knicks fan. You saw that video? Knicks in 4, because of Villanova, and he gave the thumbs up. Robbie asks, Wob, is this series just going to come down to the fact that the Knicks have the best closer in basketball? Oh, are we ready to have a conversation? Because I thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander deserved Clutch Player of the Year this year easily. How many of those Brunson corner shots have to go in before we start asking questions? They went in against the Cavs. They went in against the Sixers. They went in against the Hawks. Yes, they're in high volume, and yes, he struggled out of the gate with his shooting accuracy. But man, when you need a half-court bucket, he is so hard to guard. What are you supposed to do? He's so little. Everyone else is 6'7". The ball barely goes from the floor to his hand because he's so small. So you're never picking his pocket. And he's the master of using his hips as a shield. And he's just able to create space to get to these little jab, step, stagger, kind of weak side fadeaways that are just always open against defenders bigger than him. And it's not just once or twice, it's like hundreds of times. Have any of you seen the band Fish before? They are famous because every single concert they perform is a different set. And to me, that is Jalen Brunson's half-court offense. It's just always something different with the way he comes downhill at you. Like double crossover through the leg, step back. Then single crossover, tween, hezzy, whoop, then he's gone. Then he gets to the rim. And those layups where he just throws them off the top of the backboard over dudes with Wembanyama lurking. He's the one Knick who didn't feel influenced by Wemby at the rim, and he's the smallest guy on the court. Yeah, Ben in the chat says, I've seen those wind up 66 times. Or there's a good example. What if a MLB pitcher had a different wind up every single time that he threw a pitch? Because that is the best way to describe Jalen Brunson. Doesn't have like a go-to Iverson, style crossover, step back, the Dirk Nowitzki scissor kick or the Sombor shuffle or, any of these finishing moves. Yes, he loves that weak side corner where you can barely see him on television. How does he do it all the time? How does he do it? And what's it like to guard Because if you bite, if you jump, if you reach, if you try and cut him off, he's going to draw contact and go to the ground, and then he's putting pressure on the referees to make a decision. He's such a handful. The step through scoop. And you know what? I would be a hypocrite if you know what? No, I am going to be a hypocrite because his step through scoop is not a travel. Dylan Harper's was close tonight. The nasty one in the first quarter where he stops and his momentum's carrying him forward. So he's technically still gathering. And then he goes to the scoop after he's come to a full stop, after he sheds you with his shoulder a little bit. That one to me felt that it's bending the rule book, but he's so creative and makes it look so fluid that it's legal. But they got Wemby with one of those too. He tried the step through after fully planting, and then Scott Foster called it from the opposite side of the floor, and he's like, no, that's travel. It was Brunson who tapped that ball to safety, got it back, and drained the three. But Mikal got the rebound in the box score. Those Jose Alvarado minutes are always valuable. You guys need to understand that Jose Alvarado's entire purpose on the floor, of course, is defense, but it's getting Karl Anthony Towns the basketball in a spot on the floor that is advantageous to him. All Jose does is sometimes he's tasked with shooting a grenade, and that's when he gets his threes up. Jose, all he's thinking about is how can I get Karl Anthony Towns the ball at the elbow? He goes out of his way so that the Knicks can initiate offense through Cat in his preferred spot, and that's the story of game one to me. Is Cat being able to turn, face, and challenge even Mount Wembanyama while Victor is dealing with that moment that went viral the past couple of days from the game at Madison Square Garden where OG is riding his ass through the entire paint, but from east to west, not north to south. Victor Wembanyama is coming off a screen on the other side of the floor in that game in the Garden, and he's trying to flash to the middle, but you can see OG like not giving him a shot in the back, but certainly encouraging him and intensifying his momentum so that eventually he gets pushed out of the paint to receive the basketball just outside of that elbow. Let's call it 2 to 3 feet outside of the paint. He turns, he faces, and he throws up a massive brick. Now, Wemby did dunk on OG Anunoby just a couple of plays later in that game, but that was the difference tonight. Is Cat was initiating offense from a spot that he feels comfortable, while Victor Wembanyama was not. Gabe in the YouTube chat says, yes, that's right. The guy that gets possession is credited, not the tipper. So it was Brunson who tipped it to Bridges. Bridges gets the rebound. Hart was the hockey assist guy. So technically everyone was right, and I apologize for crashing out. Can we talk about the fan that ran on the court? Never seen that before. That's YouTube and TikTok's fault. So what's going to happen next is when that guy gets released from whatever holding cell they have in the arena, he's going to get booked. He's going to bail out. He's going to get his phone back. And then he's going to post that shit on TikTok. It's going to do 3 million views and then 2 million on a short. He'll make enough money to pay his bail off of that one video alone. He'll gain notoriety. And it's part of building a brand with Gen Z. I mean, they're incentivized both with audience building, branding, and monetization to go do stuff like that. Same reason why that guy jumped into Punch the Monkeys exhibit at the Ichikawa Zoo. He wanted to do it for the YouTube videos, or the views. Oh, if you did that shit in New York? Oh, yeah. Real Rod Burgundy in the chat says, your ass is going to Rikers. Yeah, don't be doing that shit in New York. You can do it in San Antonio. They'll send your ass to Rikers in New York. Don't do it at the Garden. I don't know what's worse. I'm not getting canceled. I'm not getting canceled, but I was going to make a very And a joke that would have felt icy. Put it that way. I don't feel like getting canceled right now. You get sent to Rikers in New York, but you do the rest to finish off that joke. You know where I'm getting at. All right. Fox was bad tonight. Yeah. Fox was bad tonight. They're not going to take him off the floor. He's the highest paid player. Dylan Harper has to be out there, though. So who are you taking off? Devin Vassell? Harper, Fox, Champagnie. What were those Harrison Barnes minutes, by the way? Ugh, woof. God bless you, Harrison, former Tar Heel, but this is not the series for you. Save the cancellation until after the finals. It was just a deporting joke. That's all. It's Texas. I'm curious about the minutes distribution, though. Let's pull this back up on the screen. Josh Hart had 3 fouls early, by the way. Still finished with that stat line. 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, and a block. Woo! 0 of 3 from beyond the arc. So he's going to keep getting left open, but that is not a solve. Leaving him open because he's not making his threes only intensifies his rebounding. Harrison Barnes played 12 minutes. That felt like an eternity. Luke Cornett, -7 in 10 minutes himself. Yeah, I mean, there is a clear mismatch here with the second units because they've got to find a way to steal minutes for their starters. Barnes, Cornett, Keldon. Ugh. It's like doing the sign of the cross or whoever your God is in those minutes that you're going to survive and come out net zero. And when those Wemby minutes with no Brunson went 10-10, in back of my mind, I'm thinking it's fucking go time right now. We held the line. We weathered the storm. And then the Knicks made them pay instantly. 12 of 31 from the floor. Brunson only played 37 minutes too. Not a single New York Knick in the 40s. Towns, just monstrous. 8 defensive rebounds tonight. Those are all in traffic too. Like, he's such a monster, man. You know what? If the Knicks win this series, you're going to rename Penn Station to Brunson Station. We're also going to write a thank you note to CJ McCollum. Thank you for approving the second apron so that Minnesota had to trade this guy to the Knicks for Julius Randle. And the way that this just raised the Knicks ceiling was I'm exhausted. That game was fucking draining, man. What was the total rebounding finish on the rim? 6 total tally rebounding. Knicks 60, Spurs 60. Wow. Because that was not the case. That was not the case when I looked at halfway through the fourth. The Knicks must have really, really found a way back. Wait, rebounds, 50. Well, who's right here? NBA.com, it's 54-49. Who's lying? ESPN's usually lying. 60. 60. Somebody's lying. ESPN.com says 49-54. I'm going to trust NBA.com. All right, chat. I'm sorry. This was a I mangled this live stream tonight. NBA adds in team rebounds. Oh. I'd rather play Pop than Barnes. Time to activate Biyombo. Points conceded off of turnovers. The Knicks won 19 to 14. Points in the paint, 50 to 42. After all that, the Knicks scored more points in the paint. Well, all of those points came when Victor Wembanyama was on the bench. So, with all of these numbers, don't lie, but the context does. And I have to remember practically at least half of those 50 points were without Wemby. Good question, MCC. Is Hart going to lead the finals in rebounds like Andrew Wiggins did? The same exact way that Wiggins did it, Hart is certainly the same theory applies. Steve Kerr's strategy in that finals was to have Wiggins crash the glass from his corner 3 spot. So he got a ton of offensive rebounds. And then they had Draymond box out. And with, Kevon Looney at the time, wasn't getting the full 40 minutes. So it made all the sense in the world that Wiggins was going to get the most ops considering he played the most minutes. Josh Hart, same deal. It should be Towns booked as the favorite, but Josh Hart is going to be the one with the most wide open lanes and opportunities to get to the rim, for sure. I'm really interested to see what they do with Josh Hart next game. Because him going over from beyond the arc is even more reason to leave him open. But will they not realize that it just makes him even more of a demon with the hustle statistics and loose balls? I wish the NBA.com box scores were up with, I wish they had, maybe they do. Maybe they do. You go down here, you go from traditional to hustle. Oh, here we go. Let's see. So Josh Hart. Yeah, he doesn't have hardly any loose balls, deflections, screen assists. It's all Landry Shamet contested 3-point shots. Yeah, nothing that stands out in the box score. But, man, let me tell you, just his menacing at the rim, even if he didn't get the rebound, I thought it was pretty damn noticeable. That's why I try and balance the analytics with the eye test, because watching that game, one of the main takeaways is Josh Hart's influence away from the ball. And then these stats tell you he was like the most disengaged Knick. That doesn't make any sense. Usage. Karl Anthony Towns. Jalen Brunson, 40.2. My Lord. As a reference point, Russell Westbrook's triple-double season in Washington was 33-ish. 40.2. Talk about the weight of the world being on your shoulders. Nearly half of the Knicks' scoring possessions were the result of something Jalen Brunson did. Assisting, scoring, involvement. Sheesh. All-time Haji in the chat asked, they're not going to go to the double big more, are they? Cornette and Wemby minutes. That's what I proposed on my SiriusXM show today with Coach Sam Mitchell. If you can't hide Luke Cornette anymore, If he's going to continue to be that liability, why are you not running a jumbo lineup with Wemby and Cornette out there together to force Mitchell Robinson onto the floor with Cat to change the Knicks' dynamic? Because they may not go to Mitch. They may say, OG, you're on Wemby. Cat, you're on Cornette. That's the versatility of the Knicks defense, and the importance of OG Anunoby is he just bandages any sort of potential open wound. You could just put OG on anybody. If they go small, you're not worried about being too big or too slow because OG exists. He can switch anything. In affordability, Jesus, here we go again. The ability to, the luxury of switching is not afforded to everybody. There we go. There's a reason why the Knicks' record, several stints during the regular seasons, plural, Knicks go like 20-2 when OG is active. Because he single-handedly solved the Knicks' problems from 3 years ago, where they had the league worst, by far league worst, three-point percentage conceded to their opponents because nobody could stop their own shadow. Nobody could stop a nosebleed. So that meant Mitchell Robinson had to come over and help, and teams were just shooting, stepping, wide open threes against the Knicks every single day, ending in Y. OG comes in, and all of a sudden, the Knicks are not getting beat on the perimeter anymore. No more Evan Fournier, no more Derrick Rose. I loved Emmanuel Quickly, but they did have some traffic cones out there. OG comes in, and now the Knicks perimeter defense is in wingstop mode. Fish7718 in the YouTube chat says, Towns bodying Keldon on that rebound on the run that got us back into it was a real eye-opener for how much trouble Towns is going to be for them. There's not a lot of commas there, semicolons being used, but that's okay. I think your point is Towns is going to be trouble if he can assert that influence on the glass as a sole proprietor, single entity. If he can do all that by himself, then the Knicks get out and go. They don't need to be sending multiple bodies, which means every single offensive possession thereafter is going to be in the half court because all your dudes are back trying to clear out your stop. When you have just one guy that's able to handle it himself, you can get buckets going the other way. All right. I've yapped for an hour and 13 minutes. Maybe I need to wait a couple of minutes before the final buzzer or after the final buzzer. Because it took me 30 minutes to get into what I actually wanted to say. The first 20 minutes are all just like plays that are running through my mind that are, I just have to like say out loud for therapy. Just something that happened. The structure of the show is just not made for television, put it that way. It's scatterbrain all over the place. It's unwatchable. But when we get into discussing a couple of different sequences there, starts to make sense. So you guys know the big question. My big questions coming into the series are the ones that we're asking going into game 2. Can the Spurs get Wemby the ball in the middle of the floor? What are they going to do with Josh Hart? And what are the Spurs going to do with Karl-Anthony Towns on the glass? That's those 3 questions. Plus, it's not even a question. It's more of just an observation. When Wemby comes off of the floor, how much of a liability is it going to be? And tonight it cost them game 1. The Knicks were left for dead in that second quarter, and they were able to build a lead and put the pressure on those young, inexperienced Spurs to have to come back. And they did, to their credit. They did come back. But when you come back, that means the game is tied. That doesn't mean you have your own 9-point lead. And the Knicks were able to punch back like they always do. Nobody gets up off the mat better than them. They've seen every form of basketball adversity possible. Okay, at least some of you enjoy JPC in the YouTube chat says, I love the stream of consciousness streams. I'm not hiding anything. When I do formal radio on Sirius XM, it's much more structured because I'm setting up Antonio, right? It's much more of a conversation. Here, it's just venting. it's all it is. Some of you prefer venting. Some of you don't. And that's why I offer different forms of WOB. Because tomorrow I'll be a lot more articulate, but you're always going to get the raw version of me here. And just know, if the Knicks do get to 3 wins in the series, these streams are likely not going to exist because I'm going to be attending every single game. And it's just not going to be possible for me to do a live stream, so I'll be doing more of the canned videos. Why not stream a group meditation for the first 5 minutes? I'm open to suggestions. All right. Hell of a win tonight, my friends. Let's go Knicks. I'll be back with you after game 2. So close. I'm not going to do it yet. I'm not going to emotionally commit. I'm not going to fall head over heels. I've touched the hot stove before and I learned that it's hot. I will wait patiently until the Knicks get to 3 wins before I turn from objective basketball fan to orange and blue zombie that's going to be drinking blood from the necks of a tourist walking out of Penn Station. But that day may come, and you will see me werewolf in a way that I don't think any of you have, considering there was no social media back in the 90s. So close. Yet so far. It's been a pleasure.